Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, family. Whatever side of the diaspora that you are on, let me welcome you to the mental house with me, your host, Khadijah. Okay, let's just get right to it right now about how are we going to deal with all of this narcissism in high places. Because once we begin to identify that this is mental illness. It is mental illness that is governing us. And I don't expect things to be perfect because, listen, I still am granted. To say that this is the best country in the world. And if she would just try to live up to what she said on paper, if she would just try to live up to a little bit of what she says on purpose, on paper, um, the guiding light, is going to have grace and mercy on us. And the guiding light is us. But the more we reject the truth and the more we continue to not see our mental illness as a group of people, as a species, and we keep separating it and dividing it, and which is reality, but we'll never see the light. We'll just never see it. And the reason why I'm saying that is because when you start looking at this narcissism on a real heavy level, I think everybody in law enforcement, in these real powerful positions, and especially law enforcement, I would say police officers who have been granted the powers of God to actually kill us with impunity, just murder us down. And people, because they want to see the police department wrapped up like a little bow in a nice little box, there's a certain segment of society that doesn't just want to look at the police officers as prey. That prey off of certain elements of the community. Now, not saying all police officers, so please don't put that in my comments, because anybody sane and rational knows that nothing is all. Okay, it's no absolute. There's the gray areas. Remember, we gotta remember. So, but I really do believe that there is a high percentage of law enforcement who are extremely narcissistic, malignant, in fact. A lot of them are on pills and drugs, and they never get tested, yet they're allowed to ride around with these guns and these crazy mindsets. A lot of them have family problems with their wives, and they need counseling and help because some of them are broken men, and what they see, man's inhumane treatment of man makes them so desensitized to everything around them that it does almost become impossible to have a human relationship with one of these kind of people, male or female, because they've seen too much. They've seen the worst of mankind. Then you put them out on the street, then you give them guns, and then they go out there with all their biasness and all their drug use, and it's just a cesspool and a match made in hell for those of us who have to encounter this and who see it for what it is. Because we're going to have some, and the solving of the issue is not more police training. That's not what we need. Because I contend that they've been trained to kill a certain element of society. When black people speak of police officers and white people, we have a total different perspective. And it's just amazing how two people can see the same thing and see it just so different, because then it should become apparent to your crazy selves that we're operating off a different stimulus. And unless you are going to be able to even acknowledge that, then again, here we go with the narcissism. And I'm saying this because I just read some stories that disturbed me. And y'all already know what's going on in Milwaukee with Sheriff David Clark, and how we've had at least four people die in jail under his watch. One woman was forced to give birth while she was in shackles. So her baby was delivered on the cell cold floor, and the baby died, of course. And he has no remorse. In fact, he'll say crazy stuff that is just so, it's so borderline on, again, the mental illness that we deal with. Because, it's just like a person with BPD when you go, I really didn't like, how you slashed my tires up and how you tried to burn up my clothes just because you got angry with me. And then they turn around and say something to you so ridiculous as, well, if you wouldn't have did so-and-so, I wouldn't have done that. Whenever you're dealing with somebody that is that responds that way, you're in trouble. You're in trouble. Because that is something missing here. They had nothing to do with the other, and you had no business doing this to me. And because you had a problem with me doing this, that's what we should have dealt with. Not you just going around and causing mayhem. So when I look at some of Sheriff Clark's responses, there was another man, a 38-year-old guy, who died of dehydration. I mean, as he had been crying for water for days. At least 4 days. He'd been screaming and crying for water. Do y'all hear what I'm saying? Water. No matter how lead-filled and poisonous, he needed H2O. And I think Sheriff Clark's response to something like that was, oh, is this the same man that had to go down to the jail because he had a gun in Potawatomi and yada, 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 yada? Oh, that's the one? I mean, yes. But the fact that he's right now on his way to serving whatever debt to society that he probably needs to serve, and he is in your custody, you think it's okay for him to die from dehydration? And that is your response? And that is not narcissistic? Isn't it the most narcissistic, craziest response as you ever heard from a person in leadership? Then you got Michael Madden. Michael's only 29 years old. He died overnight, and it's because the next day, how did this go? This guy was having a seizure, if I remember correctly. He was having a seizure, and the officers thought, oh, he's just faking. See, because the shit trickles downstream. Okay, and the inconsideration and the narcissistic abuse. When you have been given the right and the okay to mistreat people from the head. Okay, so now you got all these flying monkeys who just regurgitate the same behavior, and they don't see a problem with this. And if they do see a problem with it, they don't speak up. See, which is just as bad, because that means they're just as guilty as the ones who's doing it. So anyway, the guy fell down and hit his head having a seizure, and they let him go because these people thought he was, quote unquote, faking. Because it sounds just like something that Sheriff Clark would say about somebody. Then you got Christina, I think her name was Feebrink. She was found dead in her cell one morning after she had been screaming all night long. From some type of ailment, just screaming, hollering. Nobody even helped this woman. This woman died in her damn jail. She was found dead the next day. And I don't know about y'all, it's people in this country are supposed to be innocent until proven guilty. And all these people weren't even black. The point is, this is the sick ass narcissistic malignants that are running the planet, and people want to just keep dividing the country with stuff like, oh, Democrat, Republican. This and no, is mentally ill and people that are trying to get well. That's the division. The division is not Republican Democrat. The whole premise is crazies and not crazies, or people that even recognize that there's a problem here, and it transcends everything. This is a crazy ass country that was built on crazy ass philosophies, that was built on true lies, deception, murder, thievery. I mean, and so now we're not even looking at the narcissism that's just running amok. And it's not just in the neighborhoods, because you hear me talking about the hood as a graveyard, but so is our establishments of supposedly law and order. They're the ringleader of the madness. And I guess what hurt me so bad is this story right here is reminiscent of something that come out of a Holocaust Jewish situation. No charges for guards who let black man inmate die in 2-hour long scalding shower. Did you hear what I said? They let the man have a 2-hour long scalding hot water. And the water in these institutions get extremely, because they have them set on those boilers, because they're not meant to last that long. No charges for guards after inmate scalded to death. An inmate at a Florida correction facility suffered a horrible death when guards forced him to take a scalding hot shower. Now they are free from punishment. According to the Miami Herald, Darren Rainey, an inmate at a Dade County Correctional Institution, was serving a prison sentence for cocaine possession back in 2012 when guards forced him out of his cell and into a shower where they locked the door. The guards turned on the shower to the highest setting from the outside of the door. So they did it on purpose. Let me take that back. Maybe they're not set so high. They deliberately set it higher than it needed to be. And the temperature predicted to have gotten as high as 80 degrees to another human being. It is to another human being. And we are not outraged.
We are not. This is what's happening now in the all across the country. Rainy years old and be heard screaming from the other inmates, "I can't take it anymore. Please, please." After nearly 2 hours, the guards went in to check on him. Rainey was found dead with his body laying in 3 inches of water. His skin had begun to peel off. Flecks of it was floating next to him. After more than a 2-year investigation, Miami-Dade State Attorney Catherine Fernandez Rundle released a 101-page report calling his death an accident and clearing the 4 guards involved on Friday. It was determined in the report that Sergeant John Fan, Officers Cornelius Thompson, Ronald Clark, Edwina Williams did nothing in the incident that required criminal charges. And that makes me just sick to my stomach. It just makes me sick. Man's inhumanity to man. Our treatment of one another is just incredible. And these are the people that are being put in charge as some kind of role model. As somebody that's supposed to be the Khalifa over the people to watch, right? In a sense, correctional officer, we in a jailhouse and we know what goes on and we know the problems. But this is what the guards are doing to the inmates. And them dying from water, making them have babies on the floor. All I know is we do better than this. I know it. No, I just can't. These is just most heartbreaking narcissistic stories that I've read. And obviously they were getting some kind of sick pleasure. A narcissistic feed. That's why narcissism is so dangerous. It's so dangerous. And we don't want to call it for what it is. We got a whole system set up for you to go crazy, for you to be crazy. And what runs it, the asylum in the system is crazies. White supremacy is narcissism. Okay? And narcissism is something that's passed on. So we're all subjects of this mental illness. You got black people doing black people like doing white, so it doesn't really matter. It's the madness. It's got to be addressed. I no longer am comfortable with paying a police force to brutalize me, who are probably more drugs than the damn people that they're supposed to be arresting. Nobody wants to examine that. They've given these people carte blanche to do whatever they want to do, and they got more problems than the people out there on the streets that they call themselves arrested and getting in line. This shit is absolutely crazy. And all I want to say to the families of all these people, I'm so sorry for your loss. I'm so sorry for the inhumane treatment that your loved one had to experience, no matter what they did. If they didn't kill anybody, that's not the kind of treatment that's normal for anybody that's supposed to be a correction officer. No. I just don't know what to say. This country is going to hell in a handbasket, and it's going quick. It's going quick. All right. I'm done with that story. If you like what you hear, please like and subscribe. I'm going to go. I'm going to freaking go. Narcissism is dangerous. It's fucking dangerous. Oops. Use my language. It's dangerous. If you like what you hear, please subscribe. I'll see you next time right here. Share in the mental house. Bye.